Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? I hope you're doing okay. We're going to start again in our book of Fervent in our study we're doing. Welcome. I'm glad you all joined me. Today we're going to start on strategy number 8, which is your pressures. And we're going to try to go through there and see how we do. This is a thing that actually I wrote in my book when I first got this book and was reading through it. I said, this is a doozy. Lord, I need help in this area for sure. Amen. And isn't that the truth? A lot of us need help in this area with our pressures and stuff. I hope you all are having a great day. And welcome to Cherie B's Buddies. Cherie B's Buddies. And we do Bible-based stuff. We do some fun videos of favorite things and stuff like that. And anyway, we're going to get into the strategy number 8 called your pressures. Reclaiming peace, rest, and contentment. And we do have troubles in this area of pressures, that especially these days. There's so much pressure on everybody, from kids all the way up to even senior citizens and stuff. You know, I mean, we've all got pressure of some kind or another, but some of it we bring on ourselves in the point of we can alleviate some of it if we would, but we feel like we can't do that. And this is going to tell us a little bit about bringing attention to those things, so maybe we can get a grasp back on our life that we don't have all these pressures anymore. Not like we do now anyway. It says, if I were your enemy, I'd make everything seem urgent, as if it's all yours to handle. I'd bog down your calendar with so many expectations that you couldn't tell the difference between what's important and what's not. Going and doing, guilty for ever saying no, trying to control it all, but just being controlled by it all instead. The more we try to control, I mean, all this stuff's controlling us. If I could keep you busy enough, you'd be too overwhelmed to even realize how much work you're actually saving me, as in Satan would be saying that, your enemy. Pressure. There's all kinds of pressure. Pressure to keep up, pressure to keep going, to stay ahead, to stay afloat, stay relevant, pressure to do for others what they probably should be doing for themselves. Sometimes we need to take a step back and think, what am I putting on me unnecessarily when actually someone else could be doing this? They could take this on themselves instead of me doing it for them. Now, there's a lot of instances that will not apply, but some people will get a piece of you every chance they can if it helps them out. They don't care how many pressures you got on you. Some of them don't. They just want you to do for them. And, you know, everybody's got their limit. And you've got a life like everybody else does, you know. Pressure to plan for your retirement years. Pressure to lose weight and stay young looking. Pressure to take on another ministry project at church. Pressure to always be the one that they can count on to say yes. I know a lot of you are probably that person, the yes person. Oh, ask so-and-so, they'll do it. They always will. They always say yes. Pressure to jam another activity in your kid's schedule. I know my daughter and my granddaughters, their schedule is so packed. Packed. I don't know how they do anything. Pressure to jam another activity for your kids into the schedule. Pressure to do a better job of keeping a journal. Boy, I'm doing the pressure thing on that one big time. I do the YouTube channel, I do my Facebook group page, and I love these two things. I do my scripture writing, I do that, I love that too. Journaling, love that, do that too. Planners, try to do that and do it well. But even I am going to have to take a step back on some of these extra things. Not this, not my Facebook group page, of course. But I'm just talking about things that pressure that I put on me for me. I mean, it's nothing that really involves anybody else. It's just, you know, I'm trying to learn how to do planning. I'm trying to use my planners. I've got all kinds of planners and all kinds of notebooks. And, you know, I feel like there's a pressure to get all this done. You know, oh, I can't miss today. I can't miss today. Or I missed yesterday. Oh, my gosh, what was I doing? You know, I've got to get caught up. And it will become a job. It will not become anything that you enjoy, anything that you get anything out of. It's just the task of getting it done. And when it starts getting to be that, then you really need to back up and reevaluate what you're doing and why, and how you can make it a little better, you know, than what it is being. Pressure to get your Christmas shopping done early. And that's going to be here before we know it. See, there, no pressure. Sorry about that. Pressure to do a better job at journaling. Pressure to do your job well. Pressure to organize your pantry and your closets. Post clever thoughts and carefully posed pictures on social media. Pressure to perform a certain way, to look a certain way, to dress a certain way. The perfect wife, the perfect daughter, the perfect friend, the perfect employee, the perfect party planner, the perfect image of everything that everybody else expects you to be. And don't forget, you want to be the pressure not to be the first one to crack under the pressure. Yeah, pressure. I mean, we all get these pressures from one part of our lives or another. If you're grandparents, I guess maybe taking care of your grandchildren. That might be one thing. You know, you're handy to have to babysit and all this stuff. I know at one time I learned to say no. And I think that people asking don't even realize that they're doing it really. It's just become a way of life, you know. Oh, well, let's take them to grandma's. She'll watch them. Or let's do this so we can just take the kids to grandma's, or, you know, whatever. And I don't even think they realize they're doing it. It just becomes, you know, a habit almost. You know, playing stuff because grandma can babysit. She don't have a life. Well, years ago, I learned to say no because, I mean, I was cracking up under the pressure of that, work, and everything else. And once I learned to say no, it's not that hard to say no. Once you get the hang of it, you know, you feel a little bit bad at first, but then you're like, you know what? I don't feel so bad anymore. And plus, I'm going to tell you something else. That helps them to learn to stand on their own 2 feet, fend for themselves, find another way. You know, I mean, what if something would happen to me? You know? So, you know, they had to, for circumstances that happened in my life when my husband passed away and stuff, they had to find somebody else to watch the kids all the time and stuff. And not all the time. I mean, I still watched them. I love my grandchildren and my children. But, you know, that was good for them. They found another way. You know, I couldn't pick them up from school. They found another way to do, you know, after school care, or someone else to get them, or whatever. You know, there's always another way. But if you've got the easy way out, you don't even look for another way. I mean, you kind of already got a way, you know. I don't know if that made sense or not, but, you know, sometimes you need to say no in order to let people find another way or fend for themselves. Now, like I said, that don't apply in every situation for everybody. You know, I'm not telling you to just start saying no all the time. I'm not saying that. You got your own mind and your own will to do things in your own life. I'm not here telling you what to do. I'm just telling you in my circumstance, that's what I had to do. But, you know, we can run ourselves really, really thin. Pressures from unrealistic demands that we place on ourselves through our perfectionism, obsession, control, the making of appearances. Pressure from unreasonable demands that others place on us. Pressures that make us feel like we might be wrong or selfish or cold-hearted or snooty. To enforce margin and boundaries in our schedule so that we can actually maintain enough time to be obedient to what the Lord has called us to do. Don't you see, sometimes we get so much stuff into our life that we weed God out. He's the end of the line, you know. We make time for Him if we ever get time for Him. And it should definitely not be that way. It should be the other way around. We should do God first and then everything else, you know, fall into place. But we have to take time to rest. You know, we have to take time to take a breath, stop, slow down, spend a lazy day at home. Don't have any activities that day. You know, do what you can. Get a time in every now and then when you can. we have to have a little bit of pressure. I mean, that's what life's all about. But we don't have to have a massive amount of pressure. The enemy's intention is always to enslave you. On 135, primarily, of course, his stock in trade is keeping you bound up and bogged down by all the sins. Christ has already died to set you free from those sins. He'll get you even the good things. He'll get you even with the good things. It doesn't have to be the bad things. He's not biased toward just tempting you with bad things to get you away from God. He can enslave you to good things like your job, ministry, recreational hobbies. Nothing is so healthy and life-giving that he can't turn it into a cruel taskmaster, one that bosses you around and runs your life. We have to realize that all these things that we're doing, you know, is it important? Should we grant it all the time we're giving it? Should we sit down and reevaluate? And that's what I want to talk about. Not every good thing is a God thing, plain and simple, because even good things can entrap us to them, you know, to keep us away from God. There's things in here that I want to go over here in a moment too that kind of gives you ways to stand back and look and see if you're being entrapped by certain things. When our lives are packed to the brim with things that squeeze God to the periphery, it's a sure sign that we've replaced our devotion to God with a love for something else. The pressure to perform, for example, often means you've made an idol of your reputation. The pressure to maintain a ridiculously jam-packed schedule. The idol of self-reliance. The pressure to maintain an impressive standard of living. The idol of achievement. The pressure to take on everything in which your kids show even the slightest interest in. You're on board, you know. Our hearts can make idols of anything. And we don't even realize it's happening because we're in the hustle bustle of it all. Unmanageable, incessant pressure is not just another nagging problem in your average day. It's an attack against your full devotion to God as your one and only Lord. It's a cosmic battle for your contentment, your peace, your rest, your sense of balance, health, wholeness, your ability to worship attentively. Boy, how many times have we been in church and our mind wanders? Yeah, that's a biggie. To trust fully and be free and satisfied in Christ, available to move at the invitation of his perfectly timed will. That's why alleviating pressures is not merely fodder for self-help magazines and motivational speeches. It should be a matter that's worth our serious prayer. We need to do our serious prayer. We've been too tired and overwhelmed to see it, but now, see, we're thinking about it. Now our eyes are open and we've drawn attention to this part of our problem, which is our pressure that we're putting ourselves under. So we need to use prayer like a sharp pair of scissors and cut ourselves loose from it. Now you can identify the most common pressures and expectations in your life that cause you fatigue, fragmentation, distress, occasionally even an emotion that borders on despair. Now think about these things when you're thinking about your schedule and everything and all your pressures. Check your schedule for patterns where you're allowing yourself to be enslaved to things that aren't truly as critically or important or indispensable as they seem. Have you put something up here on a pedestal, you know, of something that's really important, and when you get down to the nitty-gritty, it really isn't. It's, you know, you're doing it for show, you're doing it, you know, to keep up with the Joneses, you know, whatever it may be. But check your schedule for patterns where you're allowing yourself to be enslaved to things that aren't truly as critically important as you think they are, or as they seem to be. Check your motivations for why you say yes to so many things and why you feel such guilt and loss of importance for saying no. Check your motivations for why you say yes. Are you saying yes because you want to be the one with all the attention, or you want to be the one to get that done, or you don't want to say no because if you do, then so-and-so, they're going to be doing it. You know, I'll be behind. You know, come on. I'll be falling behind. They'll get ahead of me. They're going to do this, and then they'll make new friends, or they'll do this, and then they'll all like them better because maybe they'll do it better than I would have done it. So if I do it, I'm just in control and I can handle everything. That's a biggie too. Check to see if the places where you must typically overload your time involve people or goals or interest areas that you've elevated to the status of idols. That's what we were just talking about. Check to see if the places where you must typically overload your time involve people or goals or interest areas that elevate to the status of idols, where you've put that up there on that pedestal, that's very important. You know, that has to be done. I have to do this. I have to be involved in this. I have to be the president of this association, or I have to be the head of the cheerleading team, or, you know, I've got to make all the snacks for the football team, or, you know, just whatever it is, you know, just think of why. And, you know, maybe there's somebody else out there who'd like to do something every now and then. You're hogging it all, you know. You got to think of that too. Check how much emphasis you place on the current status of your wardrobe, house, car, job, fitness, education, and any external measure that causes you to feel defensive, pressured to keep up and compare. Whoo-hoo, there you go. We got to do this one again because this is like, hello. Check how much emphasis you place on the current status of your wardrobe, your car, your house, your job, fitness, education, anything that external measure that causes you to feel defensive and pressured to be the best, you know, you're comparing yourself to somebody else. You know, they got a new car. Oh man, I've got to get a new car now. You know, they can't see me driving around this. Now look what they've got. You know, oh, I love the outfit on her. Wish I could get an outfit like that. You know, I mean, we're always comparing ourselves to other people. And I know that there's other fervent studies on YouTube, probably far better than what I'm doing. I don't watch them. I watched one years ago. Well, probably wasn't years ago, maybe a year ago, a little bit of one. But I don't do that anymore because I don't want to be mimicking someone else. I'm doing what God tells me to do, what God leads me to say, what comes into my head to say about this book. No, I'm not the best at it. Believe me, I know that. But, you know, I'm just being me. And, you know, you've got an off button. If it's not for you, you can turn it off. But I hope you don't. Maybe I'll say something that'll click in here, you know, that'll apply to you. I know it applies to me a lot. I'm no perfect person. We're all far from that. Ask the Lord for real discernment here, because some of these determinations can be subtle and hard to spot. Remember, your enemy is involved, so he's sure to try to blind you to what's really underneath it all, which is him. A close friend or a family member whose wisdom you trust might actually be helpful in this process as well, if you'll promise to consider the validity of everything she says and reveals about you, even the things that you don't quite agree with at first. You have to be open. You know, you can't be on the defensive when people, you know, if you ask someone for help, like, you know, if you're looking at my wife, what would you say? You know, what am I saying yes to too much? Or am I putting emphasis on something I'm just not seeing it? Where really it's not that big of a deal. You know, there's pros and cons. I always do pros and cons lists when I'm trying to figure something out. Pros and cons. The good things about it and the bad things about it. It's very hard to write the cons because, you know, that's going against what you're really wanting probably. But to make a good decision, you need to do that because there's a reason for the cons to be there. I make a pros and cons list of certain decisions that I have to make, or if I'm just trying to decide between a couple of different things, I'll do a pros and cons list. But we just need to pray about it, and the enemy's going to hate that when we pray about it anyway. And when we figure out that the jig's up, you know, because we've figured out now that our pressures, we're causing on our own selves, you know, we're causing ourselves all this trouble. So maybe we just need to reevaluate a few things, and maybe you don't need to change anything. Maybe you're hunky-dory the way you are. But just remember, there's other people out there that like to do stuff too. There's people out there that would be helpful for them to do things for themselves in some instances. Like I say, this all isn't for everybody. You know, you've got to give people a chance. Maybe you got a quieter person that don't want to get out and do, they want to volunteer, they want to do stuff, but you're so up in it and everything that, and loud and, running the show all the time that they just feel inferior and they don't even want to, come out and help. Maybe their kid's playing on that team and they'd like to do something for their child to see their mom out there working. But, you've got all the attention, so you're doing it all and bossing everybody around and stuff. It doesn't need to be that way. It's not a competition in life. We're trying to get through it. There is no, who cares who gets across the finish line first, as long as we all get across the finish line. We don't put so much pressure on yourself. You don't have to be the it and everything, But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. Let's see, the next time I think we talk about hurts. Ooh, that might be your hurts, turning bitterness into forgiveness. Oh, that's a biggie. Oh no. I'm going to have to do some really good heavy reading on that one. But thanks for joining me. I hope you all have a great day. And remember to live, love, laugh, and laugh some more, because laughter's the best medicine. And I hope you come back and join me. We'll be doing some other videos pretty soon. I'm still doing the get to know me videos. So if you got any questions for me, I've got a couple of questions from the last times that I haven't got to answer yet, and I will. And if you got anything else you want to ask me about getting to know me or whatever, just ask them in the comments and I'll try to get to you the next time. And in the meantime, you all have a safe and happy week. And I've still got kittens. As far as I know, we've got 5, but she moved them up into the loft of the barn, and I'm afraid to look for them too hard. I'm afraid she'll move them again. But I am going to take pictures of them kittens if I can ever get to them. In about a week, I think they should be scurrying and scampering around a little bit up there, so I might be able to catch them. But anyway, I hope you all have a great week, and hugs to everybody, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.